Welcome to the Construction Financial Management Association's Chat with the Chairman. I'm your host, CFMA Chairman Kevin Booth. And today I'll be sitting down with the co-founder and CEO of JBKnowledge, James Benham. Good to see you, James. Thanks for joining me here.
Great to see you too. Thank you for having me on the show. Always a lot of fun to hang out, even virtually, with CFMA. Of course, Kevin, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I really miss our get-togethers.
Yes,
but it's good to be hanging out. It's good to be hanging out virtually.
This is the next best thing that could happen to me virtually. So,
yes, exactly.
For sure. Well, I can imagine with the COVID shutdowns and the lack of travel, you are a road warrior, and so I can imagine that you're spending a lot more time at home this year than normal. So, what have you been doing at home? Have you found any extra time to take up some hobbies?
Absolutely. I've always wanted to do a few things. I've said for years, and I've spoken at, I don't know, 400 something conferences since 2005, when I really decided to get into speaking and education as part of my my efforts in technology. And I always wanted a sabbatical, and I got one.
A forced sabbatical, yes.
I got a pandemic forced sabbatical. I've always wanted to do a few things. I've done my own practice triathlons in the past, but I got really serious about triathlon training. So I've been doing swim, bike runs every week, sprint distance triathlons just on my own, since there have not been any to compete in that were close to me. I also have gotten really into guitar. I've always wanted to play guitar, Kevin. And you and I are both a big fan of live music, concerts. Yes. And are many of our friends who shall not be named, because there's this pretty large list of CFMA buddies of ours who are into this. So I picked up the acoustic and electric guitar, started some online YouTube classes, then did some tutoring virtually, and I'm playing about 80 songs now, just having a blast. Wow. I try and learn a new song every week, and so I've been playing the guitar a lot as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. Wow, yeah. That's a lot to take on.
Well, I wanted to keep my mind busy. I'm a big believer that you have to make the best of every situation. And so I'm like, well, I got a forced sabbatical. I'm coming off the road. I used to travel every week, and I got to do something. And of course, I have two daughters, and I've had a lot of fun hanging out with them. My daughter Noelle and I rebuilt every Lego I've ever owned since early childhood. My daughter Annabelle and I, explored our love for Broadway through watching a lot of Broadway musicals online. We've tried to find ways to have fun. I took my kids to Florida a few times. I'm a pilot, and so I've got my dad's old plane that I grew up in. And we would hop into that, and we kind of would jaunt down to Florida and do some trips down there. Obviously, socially distancing, at 10,000 feet in this old 1970 Piper Aztec. No air conditioning, by the way, and so you've got to crack the door when you're taxiing to keep the air coming in the plane. But it's got two really great engines on it, so don't everybody worry. Everybody always worries. And so I honestly, we had a lot of fun. We did some camping. Just as much as we could, keep ourselves busy.
Wow. That's a lot. Like I said, most people right now, they're just staying at home. The biggest challenge is trying to tackle a jigsaw puzzle on the dining room table. But no, you decide you're going to take up guitar and triathlon here. Jeez.
I did admit, it worked out great. I mean, although I think my immediate family is really tired of hearing me say, "Hey, listen to this new song I learned." And so I started FaceTiming friends. I realize there's a lot of people who like to listen to music, but don't like to be asked to listen to music.
That's true. Only if it's voluntary, right? Yeah, it's got to be their idea.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's unpack that then. So guitar, what's your favorite song then that you're playing right now on guitar?
Well, I really love Pink Floyd. I've always really loved Pink Floyd. So "Wish You Were Here" was my first one I really tackled, right? And then got into a whole bunch of other songs. Right now, I just finished "Extreme More Than Words," which of course is a really, really great song, really hard. I had to do "Stairway to Heaven." I had to. I even got the opening guitar solo down, and but I did on acoustic. I found I love acoustic more than electric, and so I've really gotten to dive down the rabbit hole on a lot of those. "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles. I play that almost every morning. It's you name it, I'm playing it. If it's 80s or 90s, I really love it. Go back in the 60s and 70s, of classic rock.
Fantastic.
Yeah, anything that can really be worked out on an acoustic guitar, I'm having a lot of fun with.
All right, well, be on the lookout for your YouTube videos.
Next CFMA convention.
Yes, at the next convention. Exactly. Yes.
Yes, out by the fire. That's the best place to play
All
guitar.
right.
By the way, scientists have determined the best place to play guitar is outside by a fire.
All right, you got it. All right, we're holding you to that. And the other thing was triathlon. You said you've been doing a lot of practicing on triathlons and training.
Just did a training run this morning doing sprint tri. I'm doing the short distance stuff. I'm not ready for the long stuff, but I did a run this morning, a bike as much as possible, swim, and managed to drop some pounds finally, and really just got my head centered on that, and it's been a lot of fun.
Good. Well, the pandemic has shut down most triathlons. So you have your sights set on any in the future, any that you would like to do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's some in Texas and Michigan that I really want to do. There's one. I'm in Carlsbad, California right now, and there's plenty that happen out here. But yeah, there's one in Austin, and there's some actually in my own town, and there's one in the town that I stay out in the summer. That's right on Lake Michigan, and so hopefully they'll be back. We'll see.
Yeah. Great. Well, we look forward to it. So good luck with the future triathlons there.
Thanks.
So, as we've been talking, COVID-19 has really upended everyone's schedule, or our routines have gone out the window. I honestly can't tell the difference between a Saturday and a Wednesday now. The days all blend together. It's definitely wreaked havoc on our personal schedules, but it's also afforded us some time, like you said, a forced sabbatical and to do something personally. But in addition to that, it's obviously had a huge impact on the construction industry and on how construction operations work. So how well do you think the industry was prepared for this pandemic? Honestly.
That was really well prepared for a pandemic a year ago. Now, as we started to hear it going on, right? Like for example, Texas' favorite grocery store, HEB, which is the world's best grocery store, by the way. I mean, nobody comes close to them on groceries, and pretty much everything from Texas is going to be the world's best at whatever it is. Yeah. You'll find that out with me. But they prepared well. Once they saw it happening in China, they started stocking up. So we didn't really run out of stuff at our grocery store. It was amazing. But mind you, a year ago, this wasn't on anybody's radar last November. And so, look, the construction, unfortunately, has always been the laggard. I mean, really, like as far as Gartner cross industry average spend on technology, we're kind of dead last every year. And so going to an all digital workforce was a big challenge and still is a big challenge for this industry. There's still a ton of paper being used. Of course, it's interesting how we've moved through like these phases of COVID. It's almost like the phases of grief where you're convinced that all the paper you're going to touch is going to kill you. And then we found out that's not really the case. I mean, people were wiping down all the stuff that came to their house. They were wiping down plan files. You see here some weird things. And so, we went through this phase where like nobody can share and touch paper. Well, definitely. Only about 10% of companies I've worked with really truly went paperless in the field. Now, mind you, there's a lot of other reasons to go paperless other than to avoid the transmission of a virus. Right? There's like a lot of really great reasons to go paperless, like keeping everybody on the same revision set and avoiding printing and distribution and shipping costs. And I can give you a 20-minute spiel just on that. So we were not well prepared for a paperless job site. About 90% of construction companies just still printed way too much paper, and it's unnecessary because the tools and giant displays are $100, iPads are a couple $100. I mean, everything's so cheap now, and the apps are so pervasively available that there's really no good excuse to use paper other than people just don't want to change. And going virtual from the back office, because a lot of construction companies have been very reticent to move to the cloud for their core server computing and file shares and even their office and exchange servers and stuff, they just weren't really well prepared to move to work from home for their office staff, accounting and finance and IT and HR and their VDC departments. They had a lot of desktops that were difficult to move instead of having really powerful laptops. And so I'm going to honestly give us a pretty low grade on that. I mean, it's like a C- to a D on preparedness for having to work from home. The nice thing is when you prepare for a pandemic, you also prepare for hurricanes and earthquakes and fires because everybody needs to go home. They all need to take their stuff with them. They need to be able to work remotely, right?
Yeah.
Those are the criteria. So pandemic preparation will serve us well for other natural disasters and emergencies as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, and and to your point on paperless, I mean, we've been talking in paperless for darn near 20 years. I mean, it seems like we've got more paper than ever.
Yep.
But definitely, the pandemic showed the need for that quickly and caused the industry to catch up. So, in regards to technology and making it easier to work from anywhere, what have you noticed, for example, within your own organization at working from home? Do people love it? They hate it?
It's 50-50. I mean, it's almost straight down the middle. Half of them hate it, don't want to do it again, and half of them love it, want to keep doing it. It totally depends on their personal situation, how much family's at home, and if they like that or not. I, as you can imagine, Kevin, like being around other people. So I enjoy going to the office. I enjoy hanging out with my teammates. I enjoy that time. I've got a really great home office now. I didn't before pandemic, but I got there quickly, and
make a note. Even James Benham had to make an adjustment.
I did. I wasn't.
You weren't as prepared as you thought you were, right?
I was able. We're all cloud based, so and we're all digital. We don't use paper, but dude, you really have to have a nice setup at your house. You do. If you're going to be there 8 hours a day, 5 days a week or more. You need to have it set up, and I kind of had a half slapshod. It really just wasn't tooled and dialed in for a 40 plus hour work week. And
the folding chair and a card table is not going to cut it.
Yeah,
right?
It's just not going to cut it, and it didn't cut it. So I look, my teammates. It's been really fascinating because we've gone together collectively over this. We've gone through these stages of like realizing and acceptance, and then grief of what we lost, and then and then hope, and I've had to do a lot of talks with them about hope, and about maintaining. Collins called it the Stockdale. I think it was Jim Collins called it the Stockdale paradox. James Stockdale, Navy Admiral, said he survived imprisonment at a POW camp in Vietnam, and he said, the key to surviving difficult things is maintaining the faith that it will get better without setting unrealistic timelines on when it'll get better. And he said the people that really struggled to survive there were the optimists. They kept saying, well, it's going to be over by Thanksgiving. It's going to be over by Christmas. And the realists said, it's going to be over. We're going to survive, but we're not going to set a timetable on when. And so I really worked on shifting that mindset with my team and myself, mind you, and it really helped us mentally to process this and get through it a lot better, and to recognize that we will prevail. We will endure, but we're not going to set a timetable on when.
Yeah. No, Admiral Stockdale's words are more important now than ever. They really ring true today for sure.
They do. Absolutely.
So, one of the things that James, that JBKnowledge does every year is a construction technology survey. And as you mentioned earlier, we recently did a CFMA webinar to kind of preview this year's results. And for those that didn't get a chance to attend the webinar, who haven't seen the survey yet, can you tell us what some of the trends are that you're seeing?
Sure. We do this every year. This is 9th year, and really thankful to CFMA for partnering, because it means your members, and your members have, you got their fingers right on the pulse of the whole industry. People have if you have no idea how cool CFMA is, right? First off, that the friends you make is great, but also the fact that you're dealing with all the financial controllers, the CFOs and controllers of all these organizations. And so it's an interesting year. Now, mind you, we collected the data a little early, right? We collected it back in June. And so the needles hadn't really moved a lot from COVID at that time. I'm very interested. We're going to have a whole bunch of COVID related questions on next year's survey. We knew it was too early to put it on this year's survey, but we're going to have a whole bunch of COVID related questions and next year. What we saw this year, unfortunately, the spend still remains largely unchanged. And this is as a percentage of revenue, right? We're still hovering at like mostly 1%. And there are other low margin businesses that have gotten out of being a low margin business by increasing spend. And it seems like unfortunately, the message just really isn't ringing true that we've got to drive spending up. That being said, we have seen notably increased adoption in mobile apps, notably increased adoption in some really key field technologies, are really paying attention to connecting the field back with accounting and back with project management back in the office, like collecting timesheets digitally and collecting safety reports digitally, all of that paper-based documentation that CFOs really, really want to see, collected on a regular basis, in particular for our CFOs who act as risk managers as well. They really want to see a lot of that going digital. So we did see an uptick in adoption there. That was really, really good to see. Technologies like drones are super mainstream now. It's no longer in the field of the experimental. I mean, over half of people generally use those. And you look at VDC, we have an increased use of virtual design and construction. A notably increased use of VDC, both through outsourcing and through in-house departments, and through a kind of a hybrid of both, where you're using outsourced VDC and in-house VDC. And so there are trends in that area. Unfortunately, when you look at the aggregate numbers on spending, which is one of the big things I look at, because I think your money's where your mouth is and your money's where your heart is, we're still not making the progress I'd like to see us make on budgeting, but it was definitely a year for improvement. Now, next year is going to be the one that I'm fascinated about, because all the digital initiatives during COVID just got the gas pushed on them, because people had to go digital if they hadn't. They had to start dealing with paperless if they hadn't. And I'm talking to, I as you can imagine, I know a lot of CEOs of construction tech companies, and they're telling me that business has been very good. And that should tell you something, that dollars are flowing for adoption.
Yeah, that's encouraging. It's a good sign. Well, it sounds like overall the industry is heading in the right direction. Maybe not as fast as we should be, but well, we're getting there. We're getting there. So
it's a war of attrition, right? It's a war of attrition against the status quo. It's a war of attrition against paper.
Yeah,
it's a war. It's not something you win overnight. But like I said, I mean, there were a lot of really good numbers, including staffing. By the way, staffing. Most companies increase staffing on IT.
That's interesting.
Yes, and very, very few decreased IT staffing, even by June. Yeah, and they had an opportunity to scale back by June, but people had really big backlogs, and it's nice when you enter a downturn, because owners are kind of freaking out right now, right? Like, they don't know what to build and when to build it, and so we have to assume that next year backlogs are going to continue to get pared down at some level in the commercial space, right? I mean, you're in residential is a totally different story. It's on fire right now because there's low interest rates are driving a building boom. But in commercial, we've got to make an assumption that backlogs are going to keep getting pruned down at some level, because there's quite a few, in particular, as forbearance ends in December, and like loans start getting called and people start getting, there's going to be some consequences. And so it's nice that we had, 1 and 2 year backlogs, a lot of folks. And so they can really keep working off a lot of this work while the commercial market kind of sorts its way out and figures out who it is. I think at the end of the day, there'll be a lot of tenant improvement retrofits as you have tenant turnover. We've had 20 in College Station, Texas. We had 21 restaurants go out of business so far. Just restaurants. That's including retail. We've had about 21 restaurants go out of business, but there's a bunch from Houston, Dallas, Austin that are eyeing those locations to come in now that the market's kind of cleared out a little bit. So what does that mean? Bunch of TI work, right? And so people need to think about what they did 2008 when they kicked their service divisions into high gear and they kicked their tenant improvement into high gear. I think you're going to end up with a similar need in 2021.
Yeah, no, definitely. It sounds like that's the direction that we're heading for this year and into next year. As you said, the hospitality industry especially has been hit hard. So there's going to be a lot of vacancies in restaurants, bars around the country. So definitely a hard hit sector for sure.
Yep.
Well, James, looking at the clock here, it's hard to believe, but we're starting to run out of time. But before we go, one of the things we always like to ask our listeners to participate. And so in the comment section below here, we'd like to hear from all of you watching right now. What do you think about working from home? Down here, let us know. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Give us some reasons why. Like James said earlier, it really kind of depends on your circumstances. I'm sure everybody has different reasons. Some people start out loving it, then they eventually start to hate it. But yeah, we want to hear from all of you.
I went through stages of that as well. I was like, I really hate this. And I'm like, I really like this. And I'm like, I miss my friend. And then like it was totally I miss my friend. I want to see them.
Yeah.
And then it's like when CFMA conference went virtual, I was like, we all expected it, right? I mean, we had to.
Yes.
But it's still like, oh, like this, I want to get to hang out with everybody.
I know.
You
I know.
Yeah. It's like stages of that. It's tough.
Yeah, it's like right now. It's great to see you virtually, but it's just not the same as, as hanging out in person. It's not the same. So one of these days, we're gonna get back to seeing each other in person here soon. So again, James, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today, taking time out of your busy schedule. Between your guitar and out there running on the beach. So
I'm doing a lot of work, just to be clear. Okay. I'm just working
and a little bit of work here and there.
And a little bit of work. We've been busy, man. JBKnowledge has been good. We've got 230 teammates. We've been super busy consulting and advising a lot of construction companies on technology strategy. And our products, Smart Compliance and TerraClaim, have been really busy. I mean, so the team at JBK has been real busy. I've been really focused on sales and marketing and doing a lot of webinars and a lot of podcasts and replacing all those physical events with virtual. So just from our team to yours, we appreciate CFMA, and I hope everybody's doing well.
Yeah, and I realize I should probably be thanking your team at JBKnowledge for letting you come here today.
Exactly. Yeah.
So everybody there at JBKnowledge, thank you for loaning James out to us.
Yeah,
today
they handle all this stuff. We call that delegate and elevate. They handle all that stuff, so I can do this. I've got the world's best team. I'm just amazing teammates.
That's wonderful. Good people there. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much. And for all of you, join me here next month in January when I'm going to be sitting down not with one, but two guests.
Whoa!
Yes, believe it or not, two guests. Tim Wilson and Jason Myers of BKD will be joining you next month.
Snap!
So
Timmy.
Looking forward to that. Yes.
Dude, I love Tim Wilson, man. That guy's awesome.
Should be a fun session. Really looking forward to it. So now normally at this point in my chat with the chairman videos, I would simply sign off by saying, until then, stay safe. But this video, as it airs in December, we're heading into the holiday season and the end of the terrible year that 2020 has been and was. I want to encourage everyone to be especially safe during this holiday season. Usually this is a time of year when we celebrate and it's a time of joy and celebration, but it's a little tough to do that this year. And so I encourage all of you to think about your fellow CFMA members who've been affected by the pandemic, either directly or indirectly. Many of us have had friends and family members that have fallen ill, and tragically, many have experienced loss as well. So let's take some time to reflect and remember them this holiday season. And until next month, please be safe. We'll see you then.
See you later.
Bye now.